Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the SCV Law and Life podcast. Today, I'm your host, Mason Rashtian, personal injury attorney and founder of the Mason Law Firm right here in Santa Clarita. Today, we're diving into a topic that every business owner and employer needs to understand: employment law. From hiring and firing to wage issues, compliance, and workplace policies, these are the kinds of challenges that make or break a business. Joining me today is Brian Kegley, founding partner of Kegley Law Group. Brian has decades of experience advising employers on everything from best hiring practices and wage compliance to defending against discrimination and labor claims. He's an expert in helping business protect themselves and their employees in an increasingly complex legal landscape. Brian, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here today.
Wonderful to be here, Mason. Thanks for having me.
Of course, like we were talking earlier before we got on, it's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, but we still run in the same circles. We got a lot of the same friends. I'm just sorry that we haven't crossed paths in person recently.
Yeah, I know. Especially because, are you still involved with the bar association out here?
I am. Actually, I've got my associate, Ransom Boynton, who sits on the board now. So he's taken that kind of that laboring or I put in my time. I did 9 years on the board, served as president for 2.5 years. So it was a great run, but it's time to pass it off to the next generation.
All right, good for you. Good for you. All right, so let's get started. Give me about a couple of minutes to tell me about yourself and give me a synopsis of your background.
Sure, absolutely. I'm Brian Kegley. I am the founding partner of Kegley Law Group. We opened our law firm in June of 2024. We practice exclusively representing small and mid-sized businesses, representing them on both the advice and counseling end as well as the litigation end. So we kind of have a two-prong approach to helping clients. First, we try to help you steer clear of the pitfalls and perils of complying with California law, whether that's employment law, corporate law, or just general business best practices. When the clients forget to call us or don't take our advice and they find themselves in litigation, I have an entire team of litigators who also are not fearful of entering into mediation, arbitration, or civil trials to defend the rights of our clients and ensure that they get the best results possible. Now, obviously, from an attorney's standpoint, we would much prefer our clients to take the advice early on because I do completely subscribe to the old theory of an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, because the time, the energy, the expense of litigation is just horrendous. So at this point, we counsel over 420 businesses in California, Texas, and now a few of them in Tennessee as well, where we help guide them, make sure that they're taking the proper steps, the procedures necessary to avoid complex and expensive litigation. Some of these things can be as simple as modifying your internal policies and procedures. Some of it is training managers, making sure that those policies that you put on paper are actually being enforced. And then finally, making sure we're reinforcing and updating those policies, procedures, and activities on a regular basis, at least once per year.
Got it. So, what size firms do you help? I know you said small and business, medium-sized businesses. So, what are we talking about?
Yeah, basically, if you've got anything up to 1,000 employees, that's really our sweet spot. When we start getting into the really larger employees, the Amazons, the Walmarts of the world, that's really outside of our capabilities because we are a small firm. We currently have 6 attorneys that work kind of counseling and guiding our clients. So those larger firms, those larger companies, they really go to bigger firms that have bigger resources. But candidly, I help everybody from small mom and pop shops with just 1 or 2 employees all the way up to several Fortune 200, 300 clients that have up to 1,000 employees.
Wow, that's great. So let me ask you a question. I know things have changed since the pandemic. Now you get a lot of people working remotely and
Yes.
hybrid. Has employment law caught up with that? Has there been changes because of that?
Well, I will tell you, I think that a lot of employers are still playing catch up from COVID. We entered into this time period where no one was allowed to come into the office, where we were restricted by government agencies to say we must be working remotely. And I think what a lot of employers learned as a result of that was, A, some of their employees are capable of working from home and being effective and efficient in their roles. But we also learned not everybody operates the same way. We learned that some people really do need the structure, the formula, the environment of working in an office in order to be at their best performance. And I think statistically, we've seen some numbers that have come out from the Bureau of Labor Management that have come back and said that efficiencies were in fact lost during the COVID pandemic. Now, chalk that up to remote work or the politics of the day or just the panic of what we were going through. But what we haven't seen is the restoration of our pre-COVID numbers in way of effectiveness and efficiency. And so many employers are either working a hybrid remote and in-office type positioning, 2 days in the office or 3 days in the office and 2 days from home, et cetera, to try to test this and figure out what works best. The problem has been employee pushback. Employees come forward and they say, look, I was able to work from home. I should be able to continue working from home because it's more convenient for me, or it's easier for me, or I may have needs at home, whether it's a senior adult that you're caring for, young children, or my favorite has been, well, I've got 2 puppies that I adopted and I can't leave them alone all day. Well, that's not a legitimate business problem for us to worry about. But these are the types of things that the pushback has been hard. And really what we try to do is we try to empower businesses to make smart decisions. What's best in the long run for maintaining and retaining their employees? Because I'll tell you, some of those companies that went full back to work 5 days per week, there was a mass exodus from those businesses.
For me, myself, I could never work from home. I have to separate my business from home. When I get home, I'm with the family. When I'm here, I'm all business.
Well, and as you and I were talking about before we started the podcast, during COVID, I actually relocated. I moved my family just north of Dallas, Texas. So while my practice, my team, most of my clients remain back in Southern California, I work remotely 3 weeks per month. And then 1 week per month, I'm in office in Santa Clarita. It has been a struggle. I won't lie. I've learned to be effective and efficient. I've also trained myself after reading many, many, many self-help books on how important it is to be able to step away, right? And while I have a dedicated home office where I'm able to do my work, I ensure that I've got my personal time so that my door in my office gets shut down at the end of the night and I don't get tempted to just jump back in, at 11:30 at night to do work.
That would be me. That's the reason I cannot do it. Exactly. So I know you're building a new office in Santa Clarita. Tell me how that's going.
We are. We're excited. We're just about 4 weeks out from opening up and moving our team into physical office spaces over off of Avenue Stanford. And it's an exciting time. I tell you, it's also a challenging time. If anybody's had to go through the construction process, there are all kinds of fun delays that you work through. But as I say, the patience is going to pay off, and my team is really looking forward to having a physical location where they can work on a permanent basis. Even though we've had a little temporary office where my guys get to go and work on a day-to-day basis, it'll be great to have something that is our own once again.
Oh, yeah, I can totally see that. Absolutely. So can you give me an example of a recent case or just a client that you helped out and how your firm?
Sure. Absolutely. So, many times a lot of our clients come to us when it's an urgent need as opposed to preventative care. And most recently, we dealt with a client who came to us that had a wage and hour class action lawsuit. And as we started to dive in and kind of look underneath the rocks, we noticed that they had several procedural problems. They had a couple of things where, candidly, their payroll company just simply wasn't alerting them as to problems and issues that had been created by their own lack of documentation. And so what we did was we came into this litigation, we kind of did our first triage, our analysis of what the risks and what the problems were. We moved the case very quickly into mediation because we saw that there was going to be significant exposure or liability for the company if we dragged this thing on for years into the future. So while we were in mediation in this case, it was really a great training session for our client because we got to focus on what best practices employers do in California today to make sure that they're compliant. But we also got to do some kind of incremental changes, bringing in their HR team, bringing in their management team and training them on these new policies and procedures. Candidly, my favorite part about this particular anecdote was the fact that at the conclusion of our mediation day, we successfully came to a resolution. We agreed upon a dollar amount that our client would pay in order to resolve all of the claims looking backwards, basically giving them a clean slate going forward. And I picked up the phone and I called their payroll company and I laid out for the payroll company how they had failed. They had failed to adequately inform the client on what the proper protocols and procedures were from payroll's standpoint. And we got a contribution from that payroll company of 80% of the settlement value.
Oh.
So our client, while they did wrong and they did make mistakes along the way, they were only responsible for paying 20% of the total sum that had to be paid out in resolution. That to me was a huge win for our client. And that's what we aim to do. We're a firm that really focuses on end results for our clients and putting them into a position to succeed and ensure that they're not going to be facing another claim like this down the road for the same violations.
So how do people get a hold of you?
Well, I'm available all over the place. I'm back in Santa Clarita with a physical location. You're more than welcome to come by and visit the new office on Avenue Stanford, beginning in middle to end of November once we get everything moved in. But my telephone number is real easy. It's 661-362-0813. You can also reach me on my email anytime, bkoegle at Koegle Law, KOEGLELAW.com. And I'd be happy to consult. I provide a 30-minute complimentary consultation for anybody who comes to me through these sorts of media, such as podcasts. I'll kind of give you an analysis, a quick opinion on where I see that you could do things better from a procedural or policy standpoint. We lay out a plan of action on a timeline, and I'll even give you a rough quote of what it will cost in order for you to bring your company into compliance and ensure that you're not the next defendant in one of our lawsuits.
Got it. And KoegleLaw.com is the website?
That is my website. That's correct.
So do you guys work with insurance as well as non-insured clients?
Primarily, our clients are non-insured because wage and hour claims have been exempted from coverage for over 15 years now. There are certain circumstances where your employment practices liability insurance, that's EPLI, may provide some costs to defend you in those lawsuits, but they don't pay for settlement dollars. And the reason for that is because the state of California deems those to be intentional or willful actions for failing to comply with the law. And so at the end of the day, I rarely work with insurance companies. However, in claims of discrimination, harassment, retaliation, wrongful termination, we handle those claims all the time. And many times when there is an insurance policy to back it up, what we do is we negotiate with the insurance company on behalf of our clients. We resume and maintain a position as lead counsel, and we defend, and then the insurance company picks up the bill for that above the deductible.
As I understand it too, if there is insurance, it doesn't cover everything. So you need to have specific items added on, right?
That is correct. And candidly, one of the most important things when we start talking about insurance, Mason, is the fact that your insurance company is going to say, show us your policies and procedures. We want to make sure you're legitimately trying to follow the rules. Because if you don't have those policies and procedures in place, the insurance companies many times will come back and say, well, you didn't do even the preliminary steps to protect yourself, so we're not going to protect you now. So making sure you have those policies and procedures and an insurance policy are essential best practices.
So even if you have insurance, the best practice is preventive.
100%.
Set everything up so everything's kosher, nothing is through. Okay.
Yeah. And then quite candidly, as I said earlier, those policies, they're great, they're fantastic, but sometimes they're not worth the paper they're written on, because if your management team, your leadership team isn't enforcing those policies, isn't actually backing them up, you're not doing discipline in a consistent manner when people are violating your policies, that's where employers get in the most trouble.
Got it. There you go. Hey, if you preventive, you don't have to talk to your insurance people.
Amen. That's exactly the plan.
All right. So let's see. So where do you see yourself in a few years from now? You guys going to expand even more locations?
Well, so the interesting thing about expansion is this: the clients have to be there for you to build. In my experience, and I've lived here in Texas for the last 5 years. In Texas, the laws are very different. They're very pro-employer, very business friendly, right? So the work here from an employment standpoint is not nearly as necessary as it is in California, where the laws are very pro-employee, very anti-employer. I'll say that, not being political about it at all. It's just the deck is stacked against employers. Right. So I've found that the resources that we have, I try to focus those on California because there's so much work that needs to be done. Even the clients that we work with on a regular basis, I reach out to them every October or November because there's always something that changes, including this year in California. If you're not updating your employee handbook to update all of the new changes to California law, you need to really be focused on those and really being proactive, because most of those new laws go into effect January 1st. Yeah. So what I dislike is the clients that call me on December 28th in between the Christmas and New Year's holidays and say, hey, I need you to revise my policies and I need them for January 1st. And I say, well, you'll have them, but it'll be mid-January because it all has to go into a queue. Right. But as we talk expansion, I'm constantly and consistently looking for great attorneys. And also the areas of law that we practice right now, focusing primarily on corporate transactional work, business litigation, employment transactions and litigation. I would like to expand those practice groups and practice areas to provide more of a full service package for my business clients. And so that's really what we're looking for right now, is good, sound, quality attorneys who abide by the same protocols and procedures that we do, which is providing the best service to our clients in an efficient manner.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. On a personal note, how much do you miss Santa Clarita?
I will tell you, I miss the tacos. I miss driving to Ventura in January and February and just sitting on the beach and having a coffee. I miss the mountains because where I live in Texas is very flat. And I miss my people. I miss the family and the community that I built for over 38 years in that town. The great news is where I live now, we've built a great group of friends and family here that have really kind of helped us balance it out. But candidly, Mason, I'm back there a week, a month. I really never left. My heart will always be in Santa Clarita, and servicing the businesses in and around Southern California. It's my passion. I love doing it. And my wife will hate me for saying this on a podcast, but I don't see myself ever fully retiring. I enjoy what I do too much, and it gives me a reason to get up in the morning. So while I'll slow down when I get a little bit older, I don't think I'll ever stop completely in serving my clients.
Oh, good for you. Believe me, I think about retirement sometimes a lot, especially when you get those cases or those clients. You go, okay, tomorrow.
Yeah, well, but basically,
can't do it.
Just like in your practice, what I'd love to do is I'd love to be able to slow down to about, 25, maybe 30 hours a week and not do these 60 and 70-hour weeks that we're doing right now. So, but that's what you do. You put in the hustle time up front. Once you've started a firm, you've got to lay that foundation and build a good team around you.
Absolutely. So one thing I ask all my guests is, based on what you knew today, if you could go back and give your younger self an advice, what would it be?
So it's always two things that I would tell my younger self. I'm a little ADHD, if you can't tell from my presentation. Patience is not my strength. And if I could go back, I would tell young Brian, just be patient. The good stuff comes to those who wait. It really is worth the wait. And then the second is shut out the noise. And this is what I tell a lot of young attorneys right now. There are a lot of folks that are going to tell you, don't do that, or don't try that. Don't dip your toe into that area of law. Try things, experiment, figure out what works for you. Don't listen to the haters. Go ahead and try those different opportunities out. I fell into employment law. I had no intention when I went to law school of being an employment attorney. In fact, I wanted to be a career prosecutor for the DA's office.
That's what I wanted to do, by the way.
Yes, it is wonderful work, but it's one of those things where a window of opportunity was opened for me early on in my career. I fell in love with the area of practice. And, a lot of folks always ask me, oh, hey, why don't you do plaintiff's work in employment law? It's so much more lucrative. It's just such great work because you get to work for the little guy. Look, I believe in truth, justice, the American way, and small business in America. And I love representing businesses and trying to steer them clear of the pitfalls that California has kind of set up at every turn. And it just makes me laugh because I tried representing one plaintiff several years ago, and I turned around and I said, I really wish I had been on the company side of that case. So I really respect small business owners, and you're good at what you do, but you're not expected to be great at employment law. That's why you surround yourself with a good team like Koegle Law Group.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I hear you. When I was in law school, I went to be a prosecutor. I even worked for the DA's office. I did 54 preliminary hearings for them.
Yep, I did too. I was on the waiting list for the hiring list back when I first came out of law school. And unfortunately, the hiring freeze went on for like a year. And by that time, I had tasted civil law and I'd been in civil court. And I'm just like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So before we end this, tell everybody again how they get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Well, you can always visit our website at koeglelaw.com. You can also reach out to us and call us on the phone. Our telephone number's on the website, or you can just email me. I'm always happy to take emails. I do have to check conflicts first just to make sure that I can speak with you. But once I clear a conflict check, I'd be happy to provide a 30-minute consult for you at no obligation. My email is my first initial last name, BKOEGLE at koeglelaw.com.
All right, Brian. Well, thank you again for, by the way, what's the weather like over there today?
Gorgeous. Sunshine, 68 degrees, blue skies and puffy clouds. Do not ask me in 25 minutes, though, because it's storms rolling in.
Oh, really? We're at 80 degrees, so today, probably.
All right.
All right, Matt. I'll see you later.
Wonderful seeing you, Mason. Thank you again.